Hello and welcome to Matomo Camp, Matomo plugin best practices. I'm excited about this presentation because I made a presentation last year where I was talking a little bit too much, so I went over time. And that presentation was a little bit more focused on Vue.js and how to develop Matomo plugins specifically for Vue.js. I'm glad that I chose a more generic approach this time because the last releases of Matomo is having some issues with Vue. So a little about myself. My online acronym is Georges. I forgot my speaker notes. So I'm an open source evangelist. Been working with open source for as long as I can remember, probably 12 plus years or something. And I'm a Matomo advocate. I've been working with Matomo from the early Pivik days. Been running some of the biggest installations you can possibly imagine for Matomo. I'm also a DevOps expert and educator. I love to share my knowledge about open source products and specifically about Matomo. I have a bachelor degree in computer and system science, but I'm always superseding myself, learning new things, and I'm also educated in neuro leadership, which is one of the coolest things I know. I'm also a visionary, and as of officially this week, I'm working as operation manager for privacy at Great IT. So I've been freelancing for a year, been working, trying to get my business up and running, and now I'm running this privacy thing at Great IT as an incubator, which is cool. Let's move on. Let's see. Right. I'm also, I think I'm the first actually official certified Matomo master trainer because I was contacted by Matomo for a job with a client some while ago. We did great. And I've been talking to some of the executives at InnoCraft, the company behind Matomo, and I was pushing them to like, okay, can we get the certification program going, and so on and so on. So I actually helped them to choose which logo they were gonna go with. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, okay. So how to develop a Matomo plugin? So you probably, if you come to this presentation, you probably Googled and tried to find information about how to develop a Matomo plugin. So there is, of course, official documentation, which most of the time works pretty well, and you get by pretty good. I've done a lot of Matomo plugin presentations over the years, and people always try to connect with me and ask me questions because they run into some kind of problem or whatever. So some of the plugins I have built, for example, a integration to EU Commission, because governmental authorities, agencies have demands that they need to consolidate their website data into a centralized data analytics team at the EU Commission. So that's one plugin, for example, that I built for Matomo to send that kind of data into their APIs. I have built, well, I've been contributing to a lot of plugins. For example, Matomo Extra Tools, which is built by my former company and my former associate Micke, which I'm pretty surprised that he's not having any presentation this year, because he's really awesome. Anyways, let's go through some things. So Matomo plugin ecosystem. Matomo is built with Symfony, and they have adapted a lot of out-of-the-box Symfony ways of thinking and coding standards and conventions, which is great. Not necessarily the way Symfony is building their framework nowadays, but it still works and it's pretty good and straightforward. So that's a good thing. So everything is in the same place. All the plugins basically looks the same, and you get and try to keep the same standards and conventions so that it's easier for other people to come in and help you, or you can help other plugin developers also. And it's really easy to get started, and it's really easy to you get so much out of the box from Matomo, like if you want to generate reports and stuff, and the documentation is very extensive. So yeah, and there's of course official Matomo documentation on how to set up plugins, pretty much standard. And so what I'm gonna assume, if you're watching this presentation, is that you already have some kind of knowledge of PHP, you have some kind of familiarity with the terminal or console, and you know how to put up your own local environment, because we don't want to be building anything on production. That's great. So what I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you some basic commands in the console, Matomo console specifically that I'm talking about, some plugin architecture, some key components and hooks, API, etc. Also, I'm going to show you some coding conventions for consistency and maintainability, how to leverage existing APIs for data retrieval and manipulation, creating custom APIs within your plugin. That's a huge deal, because that's probably what you're gonna spend your time on most of the time. And design an intuitive, user-friendly interface, incorporate Matomo's UI components and styles, best practices for database interactions. If I get time over, I will show you how to handle large data sets efficiently, strategies for effectively testing your plugin, tools and techniques for debugging, and documentation, and how you can contribute to the Matomo community. Because when you develop a plugin, you can also publish it at Marketplace, Matomo Marketplace. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Ronan will keep an eye on the comments, and I will happily answer you if you have any kind of questions. So let's get digging in some code. So the problem I had before this presentation was that I have automated a lot of stuff, how I set up my environments, and unfortunately right now my disk space is running out, so I had to do it all over again. Let's see if I have. Let's do it. While I'm doing this, I will also show you some other stuff. Oh, okay. The thing is, I was using the latest Matomo, and I figured out, or I bumped into some issues that are in actually in the issue Matomo issue queue. It's always good to know, because sometimes if you're pulling your hair out and you don't know what's happening or why, you can always check the issue queue. Fortunately, this is what happened to me right before this presentation. So the build environment is not up to date. So which is why I try to download a different Matomo version. As you see, I have a bunch of Matomo installations here. Let's clone down the latest, but I'm going to change the version to 4.12.1. I think was the latest one I was using when I was developing. So I know that that one will compile my code. And meanwhile, I'm going to show you if you have any issues or you want to install Matomo yourself, if you have never done it before, I can recommend for you to go into my GitHub. You can find a bunch of repos here. So I have one called Matomo Setup. This will clone down the latest, or you can actually have an environment file. You can specify which version you want to install, if you have a Matomo license, and so on and so on. It will even generate a new database for you. If you don't have a database, I mean, you need to install MySQL, of course, by yourself. But there's a bunch of stuff that if you forget sometimes or you need help, this is a great repo to get started with Matomo. Even if you want to have your own MaxMindDB installation, for example, if you have a license for premium plugins or custom plugins. So I have automated everything, and you can just follow the README here. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, I guess that's it. So this is gonna take way too long time. So I'm gonna see if I can start with a different Matomo. This is just my CA. There's no, that one. Okay. So I tried all these steps before just to make sure that everything works, so that I don't run into any prices, which is why I found out that the development environment is out of date. Right. So we want to have a different branch. I'm pretty sure it's check out. See if that works. And whenever you do that, you need to also run a git init sub. Let's see. All right. So let's see if we have a working Matomo. So we haven't. What I can do is to there we go. And I was playing Matomo 5. I don't remember what I was. Maybe I named it differently, like Matomo tank, like so. Awful lot of applications open. I can close them down. Yay, okay, so we have a working Matomo locally. And I think for testing purposes, just use admin tests. I got my own logo there. So I was created a new page where you can also find all the steps, so you can follow what I do step by step. Matomo Camp plugin 2023. I haven't pushed to Slipper yet, but I will. I remember where I put it. Window, and then open reason. There we go. This is a cheat sheet for me because I have done all the steps and I forget things, but one thing to remember is to always enable enable development mode. Now it's comparing. Maybe I haven't installed Composer. Classic. But surely always on that. So we have enabled development mode, and now this is where Matomo is kind of useful because they have this scaffolding functionality. So you don't have to do everything manually. I also wrote a blog post probably 2 years ago, which goes in more into depth how you can like make sure you have the correct node version and how you can create a simple view plugin. And we have the official guides, and also there's a repo if you just want to clone down a repo that works, working functionality. That's cool also. So this is a repo I used to send in a bug report to the core team. Let's see. Okay, we don't have any plugins here, no plugins here. Okay, let's get coding. So we want to generate a plugin with a camp one, a presentation, and this is default one. Now we have scaffolded all the files we need for a basic plugin, but still nothing here. You cannot see anything. And of course, you want to like when you're developing, you want to see some results. And that's something we're going to see here. Okay, we're getting some errors, but that's okay for now. We want to activate the plugin, first of all. I didn't get this much errors right before this presentation. It's probably because I changed the PHP version or the Matomo version to an older one. And still nothing here yet. Because we haven't created any, we have no view. Not in Vue.js, I mean a general template, a Vue template. So we get some basic stuff here with our calving API method for plugin. But we also want to generate a controller so we can actually do something with the plugin. So we're going to do that now. And of course, there's a typo. And there's no such thing as controller. So there we go. Now we got a controller here. Now this is what we should see in our plugin. Maybe I need to update the version because it is, it's really annoying to get all those error messages. Let's do a 13, which was a 15.1. Just for now because we don't need to show you the view specifics. Let's do a reinstall compose because it's a package that is generating this annoying error message. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Now, basically, we should be able to see our plugin code or our plugin. So this is a mess because you Google something and you get here, but what you really want to do is you want to go to the developer zone here, setting up. Plugin after plugin. Yeah, and then I should be able to do something like that. All right. There we go. First, it's called Chemical. And now we can see our answer to life is 42. A hitchhiker's guide to galaxy. But we want to have a nicer. We don't want to take over the whole Matomo. So what we will do, we will, instead of extending in our template here, you can see that we are extending the dashboard, but what we really want to do is that we want to extend the admin grid. So we get the menus and everything out of the box. Right? And we also want to have some kind of buttons. So we will start with that. And we will generate a menu. And now we've got a menu file here. And there are, so Matomo will scaffold everything, but they are commented out. You can see if we have the top menu item, we will add a menu item to the blue section in the top. Matomo camp, my top item. And the reason why it looks ugly or the text is like this, it's because it's a placeholder if you want to add translations in the future. So it's a feature, it's not a bug, which is kind of good. Let's see. We can just comment out everything and see what we get. There is actually, yeah, we won't be able to use that one because it's deprecated. And now we have a menu here also. And this is the admin dashboard. What if we want to have a menu item in, let's say, a metrics dashboard? Well, you cannot create a menu item if you don't have a report or a widget. So let's go ahead and create a widget. And then if you don't want people to use your widget, you can also add code to disable it so that they cannot customize it into the dashboard if you want. Let's see. Or we can do, so if I say here that I want it to be under visitors or behavior, or I can create a new one. Awesome reports, let's say. Now I can start implementing the render method. Let's see, how did we do it? Okay, it's not showing up yet because we need to configure something. There's the, if you want to disable the widget. Widget clicks. Right, we need to add it to the menu after we have played. Sometimes you forget things, so you have to look them up. So I think I have saved. Because we're doing like that. No, no. Anyways, there's a lot more you can do. And as I said, with you can, if you want to generate view code uh, and start building front end, you can generate a view component, something like button. Then you get the SRC folder here, button. You get the default scaffolding code here. So you can easily get up and running and start developing sample component. And you have the adapter. I talked a lot about this in my previous talk, so if you want to figure out what this does, just look at the old presentation. You want to add an ID that we can attach our component to in our twig. The problem here is that now when we want to build our file, we want to have the correct node version. first of all. So I have a way to figure out which version Matomo is using themselves. So I will do a use. Then of course you need to install them. And do you have any kind of questions?
Actually, there is no question in the chat.
Yeah. I know that people are scared to write in the chat, but they will contact me afterwards on LinkedIn. So don't be afraid. Just add me on LinkedIn if you have any questions, if you want me to help you with your plugin.
You will stay available in the chat after the talk, maybe.
Yes, of course.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I will share the presentation. Or my last video, it took about a year to get it posted. But I think we can be faster this year. But I will just keep going until you tell me to stop, because
So how much time you need to continue? Because we are at the end of the time, but we can like extend the session for 5 minutes.
I know that this step is gonna fail because there's a, as I showed you before, in the Matomo GitHub issue, the view build environment is not working with the newest version because Matomo released a version where
with that issue in it, so you can't run your plugin.
So I cannot build a view right now. I need to change to an older version of Matomo, but then I get other problems in the PHP warnings and stuff.
Okay, so if you're done, we can stop the session. If you're okay with that, yeah. I can close the recording. This is pretty much
all the steps.
Sorry?
This is pretty much all the steps to get started with building a plugin.
Okay.
There is also, of course, I just want to mention quickly, if you need help, there's the developer zone here. It's quite useful. And after widgets, the next thing would be report visualizations. And there's so much stuff you get for free from Matomo if you use their way of creating the reports. So you will get all these buttons and everything just out of the box, which is quite neat. And you have a view data table. This is the one you need to use, the class. And you can nest the reports also into each other. So that's quite cool.
Okay, but so thank you, Jorge, for the talk. So we will now close the session. We have another session to prepare. So as Enzo just said, we have to close the room, and maybe we. Okay, I just stopped the recording.